Hi, I'm Nick Natarella with AdWise Creative. One of the most common questions is, how do I start a podcast for my business? Well, in this video, what I'm going to cover is, we're going to cover the basics, the foundation that is going to make your business podcast sustainable. And if you can take it for a very long time and sustain it for many episodes to come, then you're talking about monetization possibilities. So let's get started. In this episode, let's go over the potential topics your customers want to hear. Is your podcast sustainable? I've got a 5-minute exercise for you that I'll walk you through, and we'll see how far you carry this. We'll go over the one thing that every episode has to include if you want to keep moving forward, and the 4 words that can make or break your podcast. You ready? Let's go. One of the first considerations is, what are you going to talk about? What are your topics? What are you going to cover? Well, that's a very, very easy question to answer if you know your audience. And typically, in this case, for a business podcast, these are your customers, your clients. You probably already know them. What are they talking to you about? What questions, especially, are they asking? Anything from product questions or service questions, depending on what you're offering. What questions are they asking? Write them down, and I'll bet you're going to see a pattern emerge. Whether they're technical questions on how to use something, whether they're philosophical questions. For example, if you're a financial advisor, do you hear the same, well, what about this scenario type of thing? You're on to something. And if they ever ask you a question, write that down, because that's a future episode right there in the making. Chances are you're going to have a discussion with them about right there on the spot. Don't forget your answer. Chances are you're not going to forget your answer. It's your business. You do it every day. That's what we're doing. We're taking your smarts, what you already know, and we're turning it into the topics and the subjects and the questions that you're already answering and talking about every single day. The best way I can describe this is, let's say you've written a book. You have taken what you already know and put it on paper. That's the easiest representation. If you haven't written a book, you still have it here. That's what we're going after. It's just easier to outline a book than it is to outline your brain. It's my job to get you through that phase, to get those topics squared away and on paper. And that way we know we can move forward with your podcast. So, what's the best topic? We mentioned this earlier. What is the stuff that your clients are looking for? Okay? Well, the best subject that you can cover in your podcast, Teach. The best thing that people do is they go to the internet and they ask a question. Chances are they're looking for the answer to a question that you can answer. So I would strongly suggest you start answering questions, because once people start asking those questions, they'll immediately come to you. They'll find your answer, they'll listen to your podcast, and it all becomes the path to know, like, and trust. And nobody does business with anyone they don't know, like, and trust. This is your opportunity to get in front of them, become one-on-one with them, and start to talk to them exactly about what it is that they're looking for. The analogy I like to use is, people are out there, they're on this cruise, they're on a boat, but they're not exactly sure where they want to go. They know they want to go to the Pacific and maybe down into one of the islands, or I don't know, maybe we'll go further, I'm not sure. Well, this I'm not sure stuff, those are the questions that they're asking. They're getting further and further and further out there until they finally get the answer that they're looking for. And when they find that answer, they pull up to the island, and there you are with a circle of flowers ready to go right over their neck. You're already there. And if you're the one, if you're the expert, if you're the authority in that particular topic, and you're already standing there waiting for them, chances are they're going to stick with you. And if you can get there before them, that just boosts your credibility. So, how do we know we can sustain this? We all have this great idea at the beginning. It's the typical excitement in the beginning, and then when we start to get in there, it's like, oh, you kind of bump around a little bit when you start finding out what it's truly about, and then reality sets in, and you get kind of discouraged. And it's like, oh, there's a lot here. I got to do a lot for this. I got to think of this and do that and edit these episodes and sit down and record and blah, 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 blah. Trust me, that's the academic side, okay? Let's talk topics. Is this a sustainable topic? So here we go. Grab a pen and paper, sit down if you have to, stop the video if you need to, and go through this exercise. Write down 20 topics that you need to talk about. 20 things just off the top of your head. The faster you can write them, the faster you know and get them down on paper, chances are you're gonna be a very, very sustainable podcast. Now, here's the other cool thing. Write the big ideas. Those can be a podcast episode all into themselves. I'm sure you've covered a bunch of stuff that in a typical conversation you go, well, yeah, but we need to dive into that a little bit later. Fine. Take that little micro topic and turn that into an episode. So if you've got one big topic, I would bet you can turn it into at least 3, if not 5, maybe even 10 subtopics if you really focus and narrow down, okay? So hopefully this won't be too difficult an exercise, and you'll see 20 come to mind very quickly. And basically what this boils down to is if you can't do it on paper, it's not going to be sustainable in front of the microphone. And I don't want you making this huge investment in all this equipment and spend all this time trying to learn the programs, and off the top of your head, you can only come out with 5 topics. That would be a waste of your time and resources. I'm sure you've got other advertising that you could pay for your business in a much more effective manner. Now, don't get me wrong. The podcast is going to be great if you can sustain it. If you can't, I'd rather you find out now on paper than later. So, did you come up with 20 topics? Add them to the comments below. Let's see what you got, all right? You can do this. Put them in the comments below. Let's try to get through this together, okay? Now, what's the thing you're gonna need in every single episode if you wanna keep moving forward? Again, for a business podcast, you're probably looking at what? Leads, customers, clients, anything to keep moving the ball forward. Right now, think of this as a funnel. Think of it as a value ladder. Anybody who comes by and starts listening to your podcast episodes, they're at the first step. They're consuming your free content, right? The free content is what hooks them. Now, how are you going to move them forward to the next step? Maybe a small purchase, maybe setting an appointment, maybe coming into the store. Whatever it is, every episode needs to include a call to action. And I'm sure you've heard that term before. Now, here's the one tip I told you that it boils down to 4 words that will literally sink your podcast. You ready? Here they are. Just talk. Be yourself. Just talk. Be yourself. We need to know who we are doing business with. And people only do business with the ones they know, like, and trust. I've said that on many episodes. If you've spent any time on my YouTube channel, you know I've said that over and over and over again. And the greatest way to build that know, like, and especially the trust is to be yourself. We don't need a character. We don't need a caricature. We don't need somebody who's fake or phony on camera. If you come into my office, this is what you're getting. Literally, I wear this shirt a lot. Okay? So that's what I mean. I like to have fun. I hope you've had fun on my channel. I'm very serious about my business. I hope to be very serious about yours. That's what you get. And this is who you need to be on microphone, on camera, whatever you're doing. And the thing about being on microphone, especially when we're talking about your podcast here, that gives you an opportunity. There are several things that you can do with the microphone. There are several things that you can say, several things you can do, and that's for an advanced class, that you can help foster that intimacy and that relationship with your listeners. But the best thing you can possibly do is to just talk and be yourself. So whether it's in the middle or at the end of your episode, be sure to include a call to action that is the next step you want your listeners to take. Hopefully you've worked this out in a funnel ahead of time. You know you go from a freebie to a slight thing and then to an appointment or whatever. Just keep them moving on that path. So you made it this far. Well, I have something for you that you can actually download today. There's a link down below, and to get your free PDF report, Engaging Your Audience, the 3 secrets to skyrocket your podcast success. Like you didn't see that coming, right? Huh? Of course you did. It's a call to action. I practice what I preach. So get your copy today. A little bit of this, a little bit of what we've gone over today is already in there, but there are 2 other secrets that you need to know about to help you lay the groundwork, talk to your audience, and move your podcast forward. I'm Nick Mattarella. Thanks for watching.